Hey, good morning. We're going to talk about the updates to Burano and Venice, but one quick note, a little addition to the cinema line is the FX2, which will start shipping on Thursday. So if you guys have heard about it before, it's a new camera that's hybrid. It helps with stills and has an eyepiece finder. Bunch of stuff that we could talk about another time, where you can go to Sony Cine and find the information on that, but it does start shipping soon. The information we've gotten from people that have tested is it really checks the box for a camera to be able to go on scouts, to be able to do shoot video, to be able to pair it as a B camera. But it's just another addition to the line that helps out and gives us another tool. Um, we're we're in August now, so it's been a busy couple of months for us. We introduced new software for the Burano, which is now a little over a year old, and the Burano 2.0 software, which Simon will go in detail, has been received very well by the market. It addressed a lot of the things that, as we launched the camera, we heard that, hey, fix this, do that. So that's what a lot of what 2.0 ends up doing. And then very excited about the new Venice 2 software, which brings us the ability to have the Rialto Mini, which we'll talk a little bit about that. But I'll let Simon go into the detail. We look forward to some questions, make sure this is interactive and delivering all the information you need. So Simon Marsh.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. Katie, can you bring up the PowerPoint? Thank you. Okay. Hello, everybody. So version 2 for Burano arrived in June of this year. After a long wait, we knew that version 1 was not quite what we wanted it to be. Version 2 transformed the camera into a very usable, very friendly camera. Many new features included in version 2. There's a list here. We've covered them before, so there's nothing new there. But what I did want to inform you is that we now have version 2.02. When Burano launched as version 2, it was 2.01. We had one instance of a very strange problem with version 2.01 when someone was updating the camera. So we pulled it back for a short period of time, and we now release version 2.02. Feature-wise, there is no difference at all between version 2.01 and version 2.02. So if your camera works at 2.01, you don't need to go to 2.02 unless you want to. It just takes 25 minutes to do, but it's not a requirement. The feature set is identical between the two. This was just to fix a problem during the upgrade from version 1 or 1.10 to version 2. As you can see, we had the new recording formats and high frame rate modes. We standardized the SDI outputs across XOCN and XAVC, so it feels like a consistent, regular camera now. Added more anamorphic D-squeeze. We moved the OSD outside of the video image. Added 24 frame in 16 by 9 modes, because the 16 by 9 is a higher resolution vertically than the 17 by 9 modes. So you get more of the sensor capture in 16 by 9. Exposure tools like high-low key, which we inherited from the F65 and Venice, has now been incorporated. More image stabilization available for modes outside of the Super 35. So we now have full frame crop, image stabilization, increased number of white memory positions. Viewfinder gamma display assist was available for S-Log3 when monitoring, and breathing compensation and image stabilization for XOCN was added on top of XAVC. So for version 2, we now have a total of 10 different resolutions that we support on the camera. The new ones being a full frame crop 3.8K that goes up to 120 frames a second and provides very, very good performance with a low data rate and high efficiency. Then we have an anamorphic dedicated mode, so we have a 4x3 Super 35 4.3K with a very high extraction from the sensor, and that's up to 60 frames per second. And then we have a very, very high frame rate mode, which is up to 240 frames per second in Super 35 HD resolution at 1.9K, 16 by 9. The chart on the right you can see is available on Sony Cine, so you can download that and print it out if you want it as a quick reference. That gives you a image circle and horizontal and vertical resolution dimensions on the sensor as well, so you can access that if you want to. We also have the same for Venice 2 available on SonyCine.com. On top of version 2 announcement, we heard from the industry that people were having issues in very bright sunlight conditions with a slight amount of IR pollution occurring when using very high ND at 1.8 or 2.1. So we went back to the drawing board, we investigated everything, we came up with a redesign of the OLPF. This is detailed on the Sony support site for the MPC 2610 or Burano. You can send your camera in, get it updated free of charge, and we will ship the camera back to you. All the details are on this web page on the Sony support site, but please feel free to take advantage of this. We're running it until June of next year, but we won't be cutting people off. That is what we're trying to get people done as soon as possible if they want to invest in Burano and have a good IR pollution tolerance on the camera. Just as a brief overview to what we were seeing before, this is an image captured with the original OLPF with an ND at 2.1. You can see on Will's shirt it's turning a little reddish. If we then go to the new OLPF, you'll see that it's a big improvement in the blacks. We've actually, everybody that has had this implemented on their system is very, very happy. We're pleased with it. So we've tested worldwide. And the feedback we've been getting is very, very positive. So it's a great thing to do, free of charge, and we can turn it around within a week, typically. Send the camera in, you'll get it back within a week. I want to move on to the
Yeah, we just one thing
trade-in
to
option.
add is some of the cameras that people have upgraded with the filter and also the software. That full frame 3.8 crop mode has been really, really popular because it gave the ability to overcome the complaints from post on data rates and other things. So that new mode has been one of the most popular features out of the camera. In addition to, as Simon said, it makes it one camera. So some of the complications of HDSDI outputs and things that were confusing makes the camera really much more user friendly. Combine all that, we started a $4,000 end user rebate. So trade in a camera, $4,000 towards a Burano. All the information's on sonycine.com. It's offered through all of our normal channel partners. And the idea is to be able to kind of stimulate, now that we have the camera in a better place, we wanted to be able to stimulate some sales, and we've seen very positive reactions from the market of people taking advantage of this offer. So it's been great. The combination of the evolution of the camera and a little better call to action on some pricing has been very popular, and we're seeing the Burano start to go out, and we're starting to get more and more feedback, and we'll start seeing more and more positive stories and productions being released, movies and film festivals and other stuff. So we'll start promoting a lot of that now that we're starting to see those productions be finished and coming out.
And just as a review, this is the can we go full screen? Okay, there we go. This is the OLPF. So this is the device that we're swapping out within on the sensor block. So that's all that's changed, but provides much better performance for IR pollution.
Got it.
Okay. Do you want to go into the Mini?
Yeah, let's go to the Mini.
Yeah.
So this is the Mini. So Rialto Mini in its most smallest form. This is again, we're showing it here with the PL adapter. This is it in a bare bones. So as it comes out, it is a E-mount, but this is the PL adapter with a new cable. So the cable is actually more lightweight and a lot more flexible. So and also we can detach it here, be able to move it, route it through something, and then be able to attach it back to the Rialto Mini body.
It comes with the 4.5 meter or 15-foot cable as standard. There's an option for 12 meter, which is up to a 40 feet extension as well. The 40-foot cable is so light you can literally pick it up with one finger. It's so very, very light. There's fiber optics in it, and it's very, very easy to maneuver and much more flexible than the previous Rialto versions. So easy to rig and extend the Mini wherever you need it to go. It also has a drop-in because it's so much smaller than the standard Rialto. And we have a drop-in ND filter system, so you can just open it open, and then this is one of the ND cartridges that you get a full set of NDs. You go from clear all the way up to 2.4, so you get nine glass ND filters in the system, just like a Venice, but obviously you have to change them mechanically rather than you can change them remotely with on a Rialto or a Venice.
So then it'll match identical
Yeah,
to a standard body out of a Venice
yeah.
2.
Something else on the camera on the PL adapter is we now have a lens data port, so you can actually feed in a DCS LDT system into here, so record external lens encoded data into the system, and that will pass through into the recorded into the XOCN files that you're recording.
And then there are third-party accessories. So this is the LPL adapter from Lights, which has started to shipping. And then there's also third-party accessories available through Bright Tangerine and Wooden Camera. So the idea of making it into a system that your crews would like is available for the third parties things. There is one note we do have to consider if we're going to use it at the head to be able to running an SDI cable down, because we no longer send SDI down the cable.
Yeah.
I think that's it for the Rialto Mini, and
Yeah.
we'll move on to the software.
Right. So yeah, just also quickly, obviously there's a 3-pin Fisher on the front of it. So you've got run stop available through the 3-pin Fisher, and then there's 2 user buttons. So there's a button 3 and button 5 on the back if you need to define user buttons on it. But okay, so let's go on to onto version 4 firmware, which is out in the market. It came out a couple of weeks ago, I think now. Yeah. So
July 30th.
okay. So these are the new features that came with version 4. There's 7 new features. Obviously support for the Venice Extension System Mini or Mini Rialto. Official name is the CBK 3621XS. So we think it's going to be called the Rialto Mini going forward. We also added the EL zone system internally within Venice. So that's the Ed Lachman exposure latitude system. We updated the frame line capability of the camera. So instead of having one camera, one color for all the different frame lines, we now have up to 3 different colors we can show on the screen. We changed the operation of the roll display in the OSD, so it acts like a spirit level now instead of following the direction of the camera. It now operates more like a spirit level. We had an all-file update for the network data settings. ProRes playback follows the look that was applied during the recording, and then we have Mari Alert, which is something for virtual production toolset version 3.
Simon, Larry Shearer is now here. Do you want to transition and maybe have him talk about his experience using the EL Zone and Rialto Mini?
Yeah,
we'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, Larry, I can't see you, but it sounds like you're there.
No, I'm
So if
here.
you're
I'm
there,
here. I'm here. Can you see
Larry,
me
how are
better
you?
now? Hey.
Thank you for joining. So although we are not shipping the Rialto Mini just yet, or the version 4 software, Larry had a opportunity to use both of those on a recent project. What can you tell us about the project
Yeah, I mean, I was so grateful that you guys gave me the opportunity to shoot it when it was in beta, because the way the project started, it's a Netflix movie that'll come out next year sometime, it was like we are basically hiking into locations 45 minutes or sometimes longer, really hard to get to. And so that was the brief, right? It's like, okay, we're going to be shooting in natural environments, forests and creeks and rivers and stuff. And so the first order of business is like, okay, what camera can I shoot? How can I get something down there? Small lenses. We ended up using like Canon FDs and we it was a lot of it was like reverse engineering what we can fit in backpacks and how we're not going to bring dollies down there and track and all that. So then it was like, okay, how do we still move the camera? Obviously we can do handheld. So initially it was like, okay, 100% I'm going to go with Venice 2 because I know at the very least I can like still move the camera efficiently in Rialto mode. But the truth is, I went first and foremost to try to like start testing like the chicken cam, the DJI Ronin 4D or whatever it's called, right? And in fact, it was so early that I didn't know I was going to get the Rialto Mini, so I had to put it on the order, and I ended up carrying it the entire movie, but I didn't take it out of the truck one time because of the Rialto Mini. And so once they gave us the Rialto Mini and I could see, the first thing we did, because I don't love like the Ronin 2 hand holding it, right? It's like there's something about the weight of it, it's too far out in front. And so the nice thing, obviously, about something like the Chicken Cam is it's a little smaller. But once I had the Rialto Mini, I tried it with an RS4 gimbal, which is quite small and has real weight limitations. And that Mini on an RS4 was awesome, right? We could put a little cradle around it, or we could handhold it, or we could run through the woods with it pointing backwards, and I could remote operate it from a station. So we had basically our main cameras that we were shooting with was the Mini worked every single setup and every day. Even when we were just shooting normal stuff, we just kept it in Rialto Mini mode because we could build it with two handles into sort of like really small mode. We could cradle it, we could put it on a gimbal. Um, and because we also had a lot of like Inspire drone stuff, we had remote wheels that we could use there, but we could also control the RS4 from that as well. So it gave us the ability to basically be in really remote worlds, but never be feel limited about trying to move the camera or have some sort of stabilized version of camera control without, big equipment. And so it really opened the whole movie up to what I was hoping for, and it was like essential to making this movie. And I loved every bit about it. Like the truth is, I don't know if I'd ever go back to regular Rialto mode. I think I would just keep like I first of all, I want one right now for on every job is to just have the Rialto Mini because I couldn't see really any deficiencies with it. Like even okay, internal NDs, you still had every stop. I unfortunately, for some reason, we didn't have the 1.8, which of course we needed every day. But every other stop in between we had. So that even that, which I thought was gonna be a pain in the ass, wasn't so bad. But the real like tiny size of it was so awesome and still is an incredible tool.
So you had no problems even in remote areas changing NDs and doing those filter changes.
No, but it just allowed us to do things. Like we had stuff where we had to do like boat to boat stuff, right? And just being able to rig it not on a full Ronin allowed us just to do or just lean over the boat and have it in sort of a little bit of a stabilization mode or like all the ways in which a small gimbal you now had a tool that could do it that was a full Venice sensor instead of the DJI sensor of the 4D, you know?
And then
Said all you got to
we
do is figure out how to make one untethered to replace the Inspire, and then that's it. We've won the game. Because the
what
Inspire was a tool that I ended up having to use, which is obviously not a Sony thing, but nonetheless, uh, those kind of tools that allow you to sort of be really small and mobile, but not feel limited in and restrictive in the type of like storytelling you want to do, I think is what this Mini really was like awesome for.
Yeah, I think we're always listening, Larry. So that's good. That's always good
Mm.
feedback. And then we knew you needed the 1.8, so we automatically kept that out of there just to make you guys work a
That's
little
right.
extra hard and go, hey, I really want one that gets released. Then you'll have the 1.8, and
I
then
know,
everything will
exactly.
be.
But listen, even with that, it was still not so bad. But yeah, it's like I can think of so many times in which, we try we, we we had somebody just like fall 40 feet with it, just holding it, like in like you would do like a decelerator or something. But those kind of things were just even in normal mode. I mean, you still had to obviously put the backpack on that person, or depending on where it was, the backpack would go with another. So if we were running through the woods, sometimes it was like the gimbal person was separate from the backpack person, so like that way they could sort of divide and conquer. Um, and those kind of solutions.
And I think you mentioned again getting rid of the cable, but what we found is it's a big improvement over the original Venice cable,
So
which
much
was
so.
much
Well,
heavier, much
because
thicker, less
because one of
friendly.
the issues that we had to test like right away was just having a tether. Would that like hit the gimbal and then disrupt it or those kind of issues? But we just found a simple way to sort of tag it up that it never really got in the way of the gimbal in any real way that we could think of.
And did you have monitoring on top? How did you guys handle the
When
monitoring?
we would, it depended on what we were doing. So if we were running through the woods or something, we often would still, you think even with that, because it's so small, adding like a sort of a 5 inch or something, a small monitor, we could keep it on without having to sort of lose weight. The most important thing, of course, was a servo for the follow focus and and just putting some sort of wireless. But usually that wireless thing I think could also be part of the. No, it was probably on there. I'm trying to think where the so we could get picture. But the but yeah, when we were just in handheld mode or running around mode, the monitor stayed on most of the time. I think it had to get, oh, it got configured onto the, that's what it did. We just switched the monitor to the actual cradle of the RS4 when we were doing it in that mode. So it wasn't attached, obviously, to the Mini itself. But then we had just a bunch of little configurations, one hand, like little just pistol grips that wouldn't make the whole profile very big for like handheld or other modes that weren't on the gimbal.
Excellent.
But
I-
we put it on the end of like a long fishing pole, like a almost like a painter's pole, so we could extend it out like 10 feet and swing it across things. We put it in all kinds of configurations that I can't think of any other way to do it with. Yeah.
yeah, again, it's a pre-production unit, so just bang into it, do whatever you guys need to do. That's what we want to make sure it's going to hold up. So appreciate your torture testing it.
Oh, it was so good. Like I said, it was really truly essential, no bullshit, to executing the movie that we were making.
And you mentioned something too about an alternate camera. Like we have alternate cameras, where we have FX cameras, other stuff that we can blend together. But what are the advantages of being able to use essentially a camera for everything?
Well, it's an interesting thing because, of course, you go, well, why couldn't we use the FX3 for this or whatever it was? But, at least in the current mode, and I know maybe there's future stuff, but like the FX3 with like Atomos and then NDing that was a little trickier. So this felt like it was a better version of that sort of solution of like other things. But to me, when I felt like I stayed within it all feeling like I was shooting Venice 2 all the way through, was a big part of just even going through the post-production process of just feeling like I was in the same system the whole time, you know. But we did end up using like for underwater stuff, we would use like the FX3 and stuff like that that we could figure out that just were smaller bodies that didn't involve us having to bring out like a massive underwater housing. We could bring a much smaller one that was almost like DSLR, but we would put the FX3 in there.
Excellent.
But I try. Listen, if I can do it, like I said, seriously, just get an Inspire, competitor, uh, and I would stay all in the same sensor if I could, right? Because we have to do it, right? For high speed or other things, you kind of have to mix sensors sometimes. But the objective, I'm sure, even within Sony, is to try to like never have you leave that sensor if you can, right? Because that's the best thing for the movie too.
I'm sure Tanya's already clipped that out and sent it to Japan as your request. So
Oh, they
it,
know. Trust,
yeah,
they know.
so it'll be part of it. I'm sure part of the
Yeah.
part of the request.
Somebody asked just about balancing the Mini and a lens on the RS4 gimbal. It just mostly once we pick those lenses, and I think we could even do it up to like the 200 FD, which is like really long. Early days, like the first day we shot with it, because we didn't have it very long before we started shooting. I had some chatter on the RS4. So like it was doing this high frequency sort of chatter thing that I thought, oh shit, this isn't going to work. But we somehow just tweaked it a little bit. We had the same person that was like sort of our tech in our camera department for the RS4 was also helped us with like our remote wheels. Um, and so I think after that day, for some reason, we somehow solved that issue by just like rejiggering the balance of it and tweaking the RS4. But generally speaking, over the course of the movie, every once in a while, it would get a little out of balance. But we found a good rhythm where we could change lenses pretty quickly, and it didn't slow us down to like switch lenses on the RS4. But yes, of course, totally legit question because we're right on the edge of like the weight limitations of a gimbal that small.
How long
But
did
that
how long
also dictated our lenses too, of course.
how long did you shoot?
We
How long
shot
was your
for 60 days or something, something like
Wow.
that. 62 days, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, and
And Larry,
we went into locations where we had to obviously we did some where we could like do little drops of equipment, but where we would backpack in and then we'd swim, we'd put it on a little raft, we'd backpack in more. We got pretty deep into some locations. And in that case, the key was it was always like, well, we'll bring two cameras, we'll bring the RS4, we'll bring an Inspire, we'll bring the Mini Rialto, and then at least we knew no matter how deep we in, and then we'd bring five lenses into a backpack. So we could strip everything down to the absolute minimum, but still be able to do camera movement, walk, whatever it is. Yeah.
And Larry, how was your experience with the EL zone system?
I loved it. For me, I'm not a huge false color person, but because I grew up basically using like Ansel Adams' zone system to try to like learn photography, for me it was like perfect for me to sort of check stuff because it fit much more into my experience. And I like to think about exposure in those terms of like where's gray and then where's the highest white value and the darkest black value. So I loved the integration. And I think it was pretty new when we used it as well, and we used it for the whole movie, so it was awesome. There you
Now you're
go.
looking at us in the yell zone.
I like it. I like it.
What
Oh, that
can
somebody was
you?
asking what kind of handles. I'd have to look at them. Maybe I can find a way to show some pictures, but there was like a nice little, like almost like little wooden pistol grip that we had. Can you guys see that picture?
Yeah, we can
To
see.
whoever
We
asked
can
the
see.
question. Yeah. So that was kind of like an example of what it looked like, all put together, which is pretty small. I'm trying to see if I can find something else. But yeah, it was in Australia, in and around Sydney. It's for
And
Netflix.
then you were out in the forest, so it was. I expect it was warm and humid and
Yeah, oh, it
all of
was
those.
and raining all the time and all the things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was everything you can imagine. But no issues. Like I said, I remember like on whatever day 50 or something, going on the camera truck and seeing they had a whiteboard that said there was a contest of how many times I would use the Ronin 4D on the movie. And it was basically people guessing it was going to be once, twice, or zero. And of course, zero won because I never used it one time. But nonetheless, but that I was planning on using it every day if this thing didn't exist. So
How big was the pot for that? Was it a big pot?
I don't know. I should have doubled it. I'll see if I could. I'll see if I could show you. Here's another picture of just like with a monitor on it and what it looked like. Just not much bigger.
Mm.
But you can see the tether here is going to somebody else who we have now both an iris and a focus motor. Sometimes we would just run the focus motor if like we needed to kill some weight a little bit because this is handheld. So we could add whatever other things we had to it.
One of the decisions we had to make with the cables to make it smaller, we had to get rid of SDI. We figured, okay, you just be able to run the cables separately, which is has been what we have found. But it is,
That might be exactly what that is, right?
yeah, it is a question that comes up. It's like, how am I going to handle this? And then it ends up being with the crew runs the cable separately, and it doesn't end up being a big deal because we did make those conscious decisions. So if you wanted to be in the smallest way possible, that this would be the smallest, lightest cable.
That I think would be precisely what that must be. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Like this, like inside a car. This was just on a test day to figure out if we could do it. But like the RS4, like on a little slider inside a car, just to show you other ways in which we were using it.
I wanted to know, you and Claudio both like don't like using smaller sensors because you're feature film guys. Can you talk about why it was important for you to use like the full size Venice 2 sensor? Why you like that with the Rialto Mini?
Well, I love large format and it's still a big sensor, right? So to me as a competitor in the field of large format stuff, the idea that you can keep making these smaller cameras like profiles so you can, you're not limited by like the physical size of the camera, like, but still have the exact same sensor size is like remarkable. Maybe did I answer it
I think with the growth of YouTube, there's a lot of people who think that like something like the FX3 would be good enough. Right, Dan, you're seeing that too.
Yep.
like I guess maybe I haven't tested the FX3 enough to know its limitations, but to me is like where I thought about the FX3, and maybe I just need to use my FX3 more and compare it. I just go, well, if it's a Rialto sensor and it's all the way through that, I'm going to choose that over if it's at least I'm not limited by its profile size. So I think maybe before this came out, I might have considered but it was so much day exterior. Maybe I've been conditioned by the creator, which I thought was incredible, about it almost treating the FX3 like it's there to shoot at 12,800. But maybe I'm wrong, you know? I know that on The Bride, I shot a whole sequence with the FX3 on the 12,800, and it was awesome. So I maybe just because this movie was so much day exterior, I didn't think maybe I thought the FX3 wasn't the right tool for that. I don't know why.
In the sample units we've been able to get to people, the car stuff has been pretty popular with car commercials, but
Yeah.
the out in the outback or wherever is that's you're unique to that part. You're the only one I think that's truly put it through his paces to that level.
Yeah. When is it going to be available for me to buy?
Good. It'll be available soon, only not yet. Our commitment was summer, which is we usually go by seasons when we announce stuff. So we're still standing by for some updates from Japan for some exact dates, but we're close.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and we've had as you can attest to, we've had a handful of units we've been able to get into the field, predominantly for making sure everything's everything, and you kind of have testified that it does work. So it's been a good amount of testing for us, so that when we launch it, we're confident everything's everything, including the software, which we've been working off. The software that Simon mentioned, 4.0, we've been working off a solid beta for months now. So we're really happy that everything's coming out and working and going. So once we do hit the ground running, the camera, the Reno Rialto, the third-party accessories, everything will be there to be able to support productions as they go forward, as opposed to it's just a thing and we don't know if it works with Resolve, or we don't, everything will be all completely sussed out. So we're excited
Yeah,
about
gotcha.
that. Yep.
Okay, I think Dan, I think we'll let Larry go unless there's any last questions, that we can let Simon resume with the update on version 4, if that works for everyone.
Works for me.
Yep,
Unless
sounds
Larry,
good.
you want to stick around and get a deep dive into all the technical stuff.
No, I was before I jumped on, I was getting some of that stuff. No, but I got to run. But yeah, this is great. Glad to be of any help I could.
Thank you so much. It was
Thank you,
great
Larry.
to have you.
All right, thanks, Katie. Okay, so let's jump back into version 4. Obviously, one of the main features that's coming with version 4 is the support for the Rialto Mini. The ND filter display. So if you change the ND from a 0.3 to a 0.6 or 0.9, these ND filters are physically mechanically encoded, and that is read by the body, the mini body, and displayed in the OSD and stored as metadata in the MXF file. So it does know what has been inserted into the camera. Assignable buttons, obviously, the buttons 3 and 5 that I mentioned are supported in the firmware. And obviously, we have data pins on the lens mounts, so we can support E-mount and PL mount lens data information. And we have external lens data on the PL adapter. So if you're using a DCS system, you can record that internally into the Venice. We are talking to for custom filters. We are talking to the main players in that world. So that is moving forward. I don't know when they will be able to provide those, but they've been talking to the design group in Japan on the technical requirements for that, and we will have a availability to sell those via Tiffin and Schneider and multiple Lindsay Optics and people like that are all interested in doing it. So moving forward, that will be something happening in the future.
And so part of that is also the communication, because when you drop these in,
It will show up as a custom filter in that mode, because there's so many variables you could have in that. We're just going to call it custom, and that will be logged in the metadata as the filter used.
but when we use our own filters, that metadata is coming through.
Yeah, it'll read that as a 0.3. Yeah.
I think one thing on custom filters, if you guys have, if anyone has ideas or requests, please let us know, because we do see that as an opportunity. And as Simon mentioned, the discussions are starting. So if there's input on a type or certain look that you guys wanted that's super popular, it'd be great for us to know, to be able to help feed that back as to what do we prioritize as some of the first targets.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And as we discussed with Larry, obviously EL Zone, the Ed Lachman exposure latitude system, has come to Venice. He gave a very good explanation of it, but basically it's an exposure system that works like how a DP thinks. Everybody that's tested it loves it. So having it built into the camera makes it even more powerful for us. And obviously 18% gray is reflected as a gray on the for the exposure latitude instead of false color where it tends to be green. So it's a nice system, and we're very happy to have it. We've been working with Ed for a while. So
So when it's in the camera now, we can route that to different.
yeah, it's displayed as
outputs.
you can output the false color, exposure latitude on both the monitor out, so we can just. Are we seeing that, Katie? Okay, so we've got it on the monitor output of the Venice coming here, and it's also available in the viewfinder, so we have it available on 2 outputs. Okay, and then next one is user frame lines. We can do actually up to 3 different colored frame lines now in the system, the user 1 and user 2, and we also have the main aspect ratio. So if we just go to the camera again, Katie, I'll just bring up some frame lines. So I can bring in aspect ratio. I can do that as red. I can then go to user frame 1 as blue, and then yellow. So I now have ability to do up to 3 different colors for frame lines on the system. Previously, it would all be red, or all be yellow, or all be teal. Now we have the ability to customize that. So that's an. No, monitor or viewfinder. Yeah, yeah.
Simon, you've got a question from Michelle Suisa. He's asking if EL Zone display is available independently on all video input
No,
and output.
it's only on the monitor output or the viewfinder image. So let's just turn those off. And then if we go back to next page. So operators have requested this for a little while. We now have a different option for the roll display in the viewfinder. The original mode, if you tilted to the right, the indicator would move to the right and not act like a spirit level, where we'd expect it to go to the left. So we now have this mode called bubble, and we're actually like a spirit level. So, and you can just easily change that in the setup again. So we go to. We now, if you see at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that the center marker is acting like it was originally. Now, if we go to bubble mode, you'll see it changed to a circle, and now it operates like a spirit level, which is more intuitive for many people. So that's a nice improvement we've added as well, based on operator feedback. What else? All files. So what was happening with the all file, if you had network settings, they will be saved in the all file, and then if you move that all file across multiple cameras, say if you're on a multicam Venice shoot, all the networks would transfer and have the same IPs, and you'd have a whole bunch of IP conflicts. You can now turn that off, so you can save the all file, but without transferring the network settings. So you can just change all the other configuration of the camera without breaking your network configuration. So that's a nice improvement to have. ProRes recordings. If you were recording log ProRes, when you played back in camera, it was not applying the look that was used on set. So now you can actually, you'd just have S-Log3 playback. Now you can turn on the look applied, so that it will actually look like you were as you were monitoring on set when you play back the ProRes clips. Obviously, XOCN already does that, but this is something added to for the ProRes capability. And then the final one for version 4 is Moire Alert Display. This is something that's coming in Virtual Production Toolset version 3, which is going to be later this year. And it's designed, it'll take feedback from when you're using it with the Virtual Production Toolset in a ICVFX volume. Obviously, moire is a very important thing, and you don't want to be capturing moire in your final pixel capture on the camera. So instead of just having that information available to the brain bar for the people controlling the Unreal Engine, that will be now fed back to the camera directly. So you'll see it in the viewfinder, or the monitor output, the output of the camera, that you're actually encroaching onto potentially having moire being captured in your image. So instead of someone 30 feet away knowing that you're in trouble, you actually, the operator will be able to see immediately when he's actually getting close to causing worry in the image capture. That's a nice feature coming in version 4. And then one final message on version 4. The upgrade procedure is a little different from previous upgrade procedures. I've got listed here the location where you can download the version 4, but when you download version 4, it's a much bigger download than previous ones. You're typically a 250 megabyte download. This is now a 500 megabyte download because it's a 2-step procedure. If you go from version 2.10 or version 3, which I think most people would be version 3, you need to step to version 3.9, which is an interim version. It's not a working version. The camera will power up, but you shouldn't use it for any productions. It's just a stepping stone to get you from version 3 or lower to version 4. So you install version 3.9, reboot the camera, and then go back in and reinstall version 4. So our recommendation is to typically have the two firmware versions on different SD cards. Each one's going to take approximately 45 minutes, so lay out a good 90 minutes to do this. We've had no issues at all. It's very straightforward. If you go from version 3 and you try the version 4 update, it will be grayed out. It will not let you go to version 4 directly. It will force you to go to 3.9, but just be aware that 3.9 is not a working version. It is just an interim version, and you have to install version 4 on top of that. So it's going to take you 90 minutes to do the update instead of a standard 45 minutes that you would. And that's the only thing to be aware of with version 4. And it's been out for a couple of weeks. Yep.
One question, I know that a lot of times people are worried about updating firmware because they're worried that there's bugs. Can you talk a little bit about how long this version has been tested and kind of all those details?
We first showed version 4, a beta of version 4 at a camera image last year. So it's been around since November. Testing, as you know, Larry used it extensively in Australia for his shoot. We've had it on many productions. Anybody that's used a Mini Rialto has been running a beta of version 4. We're very happy with it, and it's official now in July, and then the Mini will be shipping very, very soon to fully complement it. But no issues at all. Okay.
I think there's another question in the chat, Tanya.
Any other questions that we have related to Venice 2 version 4 or Burano version 2.02? Was that, Simon? Or FX2? I think that's it then. I think we'll close it out, Harry. So I'll let Dan close it out. We've included Dan's contact in the chat, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. We hope this helped. It's been an exciting, basically, month here where we have new cameras releasing the FX2 software for the Burano, the new Venice. So we're excited. We're really continuing to push forward and making the tools better and making them available for everybody to get out there and go. And we're super happy that you guys could join.